The Other Side of Things, written by Asthmatic B, read by Hijinks Audio. Chapter 2. Aizawa Needs a Drink. Summary, in which Aizawa wonders just what crimes he committed in his previous life to deserve being a villain's babysitter. Katsuki had never told anybody, not even his fucking therapist, but he had always felt responsible for what had happened. After all, if he hadn't childishly, stupidly, pushed Izuku away, if they had remained friends, maybe none of this would have happened. Maybe Aunt Yinko wouldn't have cried into his mother's shoulder for weeks and months and years. No, he never told anybody. When villains attacked the USJ, he saw a ghost, a simulacrum of the boy he had known. Green eyes, cold and hard, a smirk as cruel as his purpose, as Katsuki had been to him for years. The villain had nothing in common with his former friend bar his face. Former friend. And wasn't that the crux of it all? If, at any point, he made a different choice, maybe Izuku wouldn't stand next to villains, declaring that they will kill All Might. It was all his fault. It always had been. No. Nezu merely smiles and takes a sip from his tea. Now, Aizawa-kun, this isn't up for debate, I'm afraid. Shota's bloodshot eyes twitch, and he practically growls his next words. Absolutely fucking not, Nezu. I don't give a shit what the police and powers that be decided. I won't play the babysitter for a juvenile villain who thinks he's all that, and you can't make me. My, Eraserhead, I don't just think that I'm all that. The annoyingly sweet voice of the subject at hand comes from the soft couch behind him, and he doesn't need to look to know that the stupid brat was smirking at him. Besides, you already babysit 20 juvenile wannabe heroes. What's one more teenager going to change? At his words, Shota does turn around, glaring at the teenager lazily lying on the couch. The difference is that they plan to be upstanding citizens. You, on the other hand, tried to kill us. The anger in his voice doesn't seem to faze the villain. I didn't try to kill you. He points at him, raising an eyebrow. Besides, who's to say I don't plan to reform and become an upstanding citizen myself? Nezu sets his teacup down on the saucer with a resounding clack, and the look in his eyes tells Shota he's amused by their exchange, even if his face gives nothing away. Aizawa-kun, while I do understand your doubts, the decision has already been made, I'm afraid. Midoriya-kun agreed to wear a quirk-suppressant collar with GPS tracking. He is not to leave campus without supervision. I control his electronics and monitor anything he does with them. It's a show of goodwill for his offer to help apprehend the League of Villains. Since you were the one to ultimately apprehend him, only you are authorized to remove the collar, if you deem him trustworthy. I must ask you to keep in mind that Midoriya-kun himself was a victim in all of this. Shota knows he's not getting out of this. Still. I don't understand why this means he gets to be around my students, Nezu. It was his plan that put them in danger in the first place. Us, we almost died, for fuck's sake. It was Midoriya who speaks up then. Feel free to treat me as a human punching bag, Eraserhead. His doubts must show on his face, because he sits up and makes an effort to look serious for once. The detective made sure I wasn't lying, or I wouldn't be here at all. I'm not saying you have to trust me. I don't actually care, to be honest. But helping to train your students will keep me from going mad from boredom, and help them in the long run. Just take it. Shota turns to him fully, quirk itching to activate, even though it would be useless. My students aren't playthings for you to experiment on and do as you please. Midoriya raises his hands placatingly. I promise I will take it seriously and stop the moment you tell me to. He can't help his resigned huff, closing his eyes tiredly. I'll believe that when I see it, you brat. He opens his eyes to glare at the villain, steel in his voice. If you hurt them, or even think you might hurt them, you are dead. Oh? Midoriya has the audacity to smirk as he leans back into the couch. That's quite the villain thing to say, isn't it, Sensei? Class 1A is unusually quiet when Shota enters the classroom, though, he supposes, that was only to be expected. These kids had barely been at UA for a week, and already had had to deal with a full-blown villain attack. Looking at their wary faces, he once again has to stifle his anger at the police department and Nezu for their decision. He looks at Yayorozu as she raises her hand, slightly nodding to allow her to speak. Aizawa-sensei, are you all right? He sighs heavily, scratching his cheek and avoiding their eyes. I'm okay, just displeased. The powers that be have decided the villain I captured, Midoriya Izuku, will be put on probation in exchange for the help he has offered to take down the League of Villains. Where is he? Shota startles at Bakugo's outburst, all eyes in the classroom now on him. He jumped to his feet, but instead of the look of anger Shota expects to see, he only looks white as a sheet and desperate. With a frown, he fully turns towards him, one hand raised and hovering near his capture weapon. It has been decided that Midoriya is low risk and is being housed on campus, and to help in your training going forward. Kaminari is the first to break the heavy silence in the room, laughing nervously. You're joking, right? I wish, Shota deadpans. Due to extenuating circumstances, Midoriya is deemed worthy of being rehabilitated, and being near aspiring heroes could benefit that, supposedly. Keeping his eyes on Bakugo, he waves at the students to follow him out of the door. He's waiting at Gym Beta. Once the Gremlins have changed into their gym uniforms, he walks them towards the quirkless training gym. They are unusually silent, too nervous to chatter amongst each other like usual. Yayorozu is the one to finally voice their thoughts out aloud. Aizawa-sensei, why is that villain allowed near us? I mean, he can't help without being around us, right? Shota sighs and wishes he had a better answer for her worries he shared. He was abducted by the League of Villains when he was 10, and apparently intended to be captured during the attack to get away from them. He's your age, so Nezu seems to think that spending time with you might help him recover and get him back on the right path. I think that's bullshit, but at least he can't use his quirk or leave campus. And I won't leave you with him without supervision. He knows that isn't what they want to hear, but it's all he can give them without lying to them. His gaze flashes to Bakugo for a moment, who hasn't uttered a single word since his earlier outburst, and still looks like a stiff wind could knock him over. What's gotten him this rattled? Why does he care so much about this villain? When he opens the door to the gym, they are all greeted by one villain on probation doing warm-up stretches. If he didn't know better, he could have mistaken him for just another one of his students. It makes Shota even more uneasy. When had villains become this young? Midoriya notices them and straightens with a smirk, his green eyes calculating and cold as he crosses his arms. Took you guys long enough. Now, who's gonna be my first victim? In retrospect, Shota supposes, he should have seen this coming. If he really thinks about it, manners probably aren't on the top of the villain's priority list on what values to impart on our prisoner. Didn't mean he has to find it funny. Shota watches as the villain sighs and lets his arms fall to his side. With a more relaxed expression, he looks at the students, looking much more his age despite the cold eyes. That was a joke? Midoriya takes a deep breath, and the grin he puts on could have been charming if it wasn't paired with his emotionless eyes. Listen, Nezu decided that I should help with your training, so I will. It's not like I have anything better to do right now, and since Eraserhead won't let me see your quirks, it's all just hand-to-hand combat. No need to look like I'll kill you. Green eyes zero in on Bakugo, who stiffens even further. The villain raises an eyebrow, and his grin turns sharp like a knife's edge. Not like I'm any danger to powerful heroes-to-be like you. Isn't that right, Ka-chan? Poor little me could never be a challenge, so why don't you give it a shot, for old time's sake? Shota feels so stupid as things click into place. You two know each other. Why wasn't he told about this? There is no way Nezu didn't know. Oh, quite well, actually. There is something in those green eyes that sends shivers down his spine, and he has to remind himself that Midoriya is 15 and can't use his quirk and is harmless. We grew up together, used to be best friends before he got his quirk and used me as a practice dummy. He cocks his head to the side in a mockery of innocent curiosity and spreads his arm in invitation. Well, what do you say, Ka-chan? Bakugo looks like that's the last thing he wants to do. And Shota needs to get the full story from his student as soon as possible, because that seems very, very important. But judging by the look of the other students, they were even less willing to do it. Bakugo takes a deep breath and steps forward, coming to stand in front of the smirking villain. Shota already regrets this. Start whenever you're ready. Bakugo starts with a right hook, and in barely a second he was already on his back, breath knocked out of him in a gasp. Before he can think to move, Midoriya shifts his hold on his arm and flips him onto his stomach and cranes his arm back, eliciting a strangled groan from him. Midoriya looks bored at his pain. Really? A right hook? You already did that when we were children. He lets go and steps away from Bakugo. You're pathetic. Bakugo lunges. Momo covers her mouth with her right hand, feeling sick as she watches the villain toy with one of the strongest people in class without breaking a sweat. He rams a knee into Bakugo's stomach, which finally seems to do him in, and he sinks to the ground, coughing violently. That's quite enough. Aizawa-sensei finally ends the one-sided brawl, one hand on his capture weapon as he steps to Bakugo's side and helps him to his feet. Her classmate waves him off as soon as he stands again, and shoots a glare at the villain. Midoriya only raises an eyebrow, looking utterly bored. Don't give me that look. I, for one, quite enjoyed finally beating the snot out of you. For the first time since his outburst back in their classroom, Bakugo speaks up, and his voice sounds uncharacteristically broken. What the fuck happened to you, Deku? The bored expression on the villain's face breaks for a moment, quickly replaced with careful blankness. He rolls his eyes and crosses his arms. I was held captive by villains for 5 years. What the fuck did you expect? Momo was surprised by the disgust and vitriol in his voice, which had been so neutral up to this point. Unlike you, I had to adapt to survive. We can't all be pampered brats. Midoriya seems to think the conversation over with that, and instead turns to the rest of them, smirk back in place. Now, who's next? When none of them volunteer, his smirk only grows wider, and, Momo realizes, more predatory. My choice then. Wonderful. You, Hagakure, right? Get here. Aizawa-sensei looks like he wants to intervene, but the villain throws him a look that makes their teacher pause. Hagakure slowly, hesitantly, steps towards the mat in the center, and what parts of her body Momo could see spoke volumes of her fear. She can't blame her after what he'd done to Bakugo. Midoriya rolls his eyes again, stance relaxing and turning much more open. Start whenever you want. Hagakure jerks, then runs forward and attempts to punch him with her right hand. Midoriya's reaction is much slower this time, as if accounting for her hesitance and trying not to hurt her. In one fluid motion, he slaps her arm aside with his left hand and punches her in the stomach with his own right fist. He knocks the wind out of her, but there is much less force behind it than what he'd used with Bakugo. Regardless, she sinks to her knees and holds her stomach, taking slow, deep breaths. Hagakure only looks up when he extends his hand to her. She lets him drag her to her feet, and his face is neutral, not mocking or derisive. You're invisible, so use your stealth to your advantage. Your best shot is always to sneak up on someone and knock them out before they can react. You should focus on training your body since your quirk is passive and doesn't support your strength. I shouldn't have been able to see your attack from a mile away. May I? He gestures as if to touch her, and Hagakure jerks in surprise. Sure? Momo watches as he steps to her side and pushes her shoulders back slightly. You need to keep a straight back, and also tense your abs. He pushes her onto her stomach as he says this, surprisingly gentle from the looks of it. When you go for a punch, use your legs and hips for momentum. Keep your stance secure. Midoriya pushes her hand lightly and nods when he deems her stance okay. Next, no unnecessary movement. Keep your arms close and tense. Your hands, here, I can't see them, so I'll have to. He demonstrates how to make a fist with his own hand, then seems to grab Hagakure's to make sure she's doing it right. He directs his next words to all of them. Never put your thumb inside your fist. You'll only break your hand. Hit with your first joints. Keep the back of your hand and your lower arm level with each other. Move quickly and with as much power as you can. Stepping back, Midoriya resumes his earlier stance. Try again. None of the class end up landing a hit on Midoriya, but after each of their attempts, he took the time to correct their mistakes and give them pointers for those with visible quirks. At the end of the session, Momo was a lot less tense, as are most of her classmates. It seems Midoriya really won't do anything with their teacher around, and except for his bout with Bakugo, which seems to have more to do with their shared past and less to do with the teenager being a villain, he had been extremely careful and surprisingly gentle. As Aizawa-sensei ushers them out, Midoriya goes back to his stretching routine, looking no worse for wear, while most of them would likely have a number of bruises for days to come. Besides her, Kirishima follows her gaze. I can't believe he didn't even break a sweat. He sounds more impressed than annoyed, which Momo can't fault him for. Midoriya was extremely good, though the probable way he came to be that good was something she didn't want to dwell on. Jiro shudders at his other side. It's kinda scary how easy it looked. Well, Kirishima says, trying to lighten the mood a bit. That just makes our Aizawa-sensei even more impressive, doesn't it? He captured him, after all. As her classmates continue to talk amongst themselves, Momo hears their teacher murmur behind her. We need to talk, Bakugo. Thank you so much for listening to Chapter 2 of the series. Please remember to leave kudos and comments on the original fanfic, and also please remember that I have links in my bio and description for families in Gaza that really need help right now. Thank you so much for listening, and have a lovely day.